Now, to piece together the information that's going to be on the free response question, you're going to need to know kind of everything involved with monetary policy from the very beginning, where you're actually going to identify where the economy is at in the business cycle, at getting to the policy and the tools used, and then the two graphs that I have up on the screen. So first up, you have to identify what phase in the business cycle we're in. Unemployment is 9.35%, which is well above 5.2%, which we consider full employment. The inflation rate is low at 2%. It's in our good range. And our real GDP is negative 0.5%, so it's decreasing. So that tells us we're in the recession phase of the business cycle. So that might be one answer. The policy you would use would be easy money policy. Or if you want to use the terminology from last unit, you could say expansionary monetary policy. Make sure this is all about money or monetary policy, not fiscal like last unit. The tools we would use, no matter what the situation, they're always going to remain the same. It's just going to matter what you're going to do with it. The discount rate, you have bonds, and you have the reserve requirement. Now, for easy money policy, they're going to want to buy bonds back to increase the money supply. They're going to want to decrease the discount rate so that banks take out more loans, and decrease the reserve requirement so that banks can give out more loans. Now, on to the money graph. Because monetary policy does not affect the aggregate supply curve or aggregate demand curve directly, it deals with the money supply first, and that then shifts aggregate demand. So the money graph, we have interest rates, we have quantity of money, we have the supply of money, which is inelastic. You have the demand for money. Now, with this problem, this is how we'd start. Money supply being vertical, demand for money looking like a demand curve should. And we're going to shift the curve. And since we're increasing the money supply, which way do we shift the money supply curve? To the left or to the right? So we go ahead and shift that right. We draw MS2. And you can see that the interest rates have gone down, but the quantity of money has increased. Then, going to our ASAD graph, we can start with our three-phase AS. We have potential output going through the expansion phase. Now, the economy at this problem is currently in a recession. So we draw it going through the recession. And then the money policy would hope to increase aggregate demand, moving it to the right, making it so that it intersects the potential output, and that would be our answer. Now, just the opposite would happen in a peak situation. We'd have tight money policy, increase the discount rate, increase the reserve requirement, sell bonds back. The money graph, instead of shifting to the right, would shift to the left as we try to decrease the money supply and get inflation under control. The ASAD graph would start with the aggregate demand going through the peak, where there's really high inflation, a really high price level, and would decrease to where the same line is, AD2, because the goal of the economy then would to get back to potential output, therefore decreasing the price level and inflation, getting the economy back towards expansion.